Dinosaurs ruled the Earth for over 165 million years. There were many theropods throughout the Mesozoic era that were extremely formidable. We've picked 72 that dominate the others. In this show, we will talk about these dangerous animals, including when they lived, what they ate, their weaponry, and how humans would fare if these creatures were still alive. From the tyrant lizard king, to the lord of the lizard eaters, to the meat-eating bull, this is 72 Dangerous Animals Prehistory.
Tra-yenya grew up to 26 feet long and weighed up to 2,000 pounds. It lived 86 to 83 million years ago in Argentina. Tra-yenya was a medium-sized Megaraptoran from the late Cretaceous period that was named after the fossil site it was excavated from, Tra-yen. It was closely related to other Megaraptorans such as Megaraptor and Raptor, which are both featured in our 72. Tra-yenya likely had massive claws on its fingers, just like other Megaraptorans. Tra-yenya was the largest carnivorous animal to be recovered from its dig site, meaning it was the apex predator of its environment. Like its relative Erosion, Tra-yenya had air-filled spaces in its bones, making it more lightweight and strengthening its bones. It also likely had a respiratory system that was like modern birds. This would have allowed more air to enter its lungs, meaning it would have been much more active than some other carnivorous dinosaurs. This means it could chase down prey, rather than needing to be an ambush hunter. When it caught up to its prey, it would kill it using its massive claws and teeth. Tra-yenya likely preyed upon large lizards, crocodilians, snakes, and other dinosaurs. It shared its habitat with Zephyr Nature, which was featured earlier in our 72. Zephyr Nature became prey for the much larger Tra-yenya. Tra-yenya also likely ate the sauropods that it shared its range with. Tra-yenya would have made short work of a human, slicing them up with its claws and eating its easily earned prize. Tra-yenya takes first place for now. Up next, one Megaraptor. Megaraptor grew up to 26 feet long and weighed up to 2,200 pounds. It lived 90 to 88 million years ago in Argentina. Megaraptor, the giant thief, was a large Megaraptoran from the late Cretaceous period. It was originally thought that Megaraptor was a dromaeosaur, hence the raptor in its name. The foot-long claw was the only part of the individual found, making paleontologists believe the claw was the sickle claw from a dromaeosaur. Later, another individual was discovered that had a complete forelimb, making paleontologists realize the sickle claw actually belonged to the hand of Megaraptor rather than the foot. Megaraptor's sickle claw was even more curved than that of Spinosaurids. It is still not 100% certain which group Megaraptorans belong to taxonomically. Some paleontologists believe that Megaraptorans are allosaurids, others believe they are tyrannosaurids or spinosaurids. Me, personally, tyrannosaurids all the way. Common sense and a quick look at the hands reveal why. Megaraptor had two large fingers with huge claws and a third, much smaller finger with a small claw. The third finger was detached from the other two, which had fused metacarpals. This oddly resembles tyrannosaurs. I know what you're thinking. T-Rex didn't have 3 fingers, but yes, T-Rex and other tyrannosaurs did in fact have 3 fingers. As you can see here, T-Rex's third digit is merely a metacarpal, but yes, it does exist, and this is the result of Tyrannosaurus evolving towards having only 2 fingers. If Tyrannosaurus didn't go extinct and kept evolving into more and more advanced Tyrannosaurs, its descendants would have had only 2 fingers and even smaller arms. Eventually, they would only have 1 finger and arms that resemble Mononychus. Megaraptor and other Megaraptorans were advancing towards losing a finger. They were, in turn, growing even larger first and second fingers to to be more damaging towards prey, while losing a third, because it simply wasn't necessary for them to have it to survive. At its current size, Megaraptor's third finger was of no help to it in killing prey. It did just fine using the other two to slice up food and competitors. In life, a keratinous sheath would have covered Megaraptor's claws, bringing them up to 18 inches long. Its teeth were small and blade-like. It had a relatively large head, but it had too weak of a bite force and too small of teeth to kill its prey with just its jaws. Rather, it used its massive hand claws to kill hadrosaurs, juvenile sauropods, and other medium-sized dinosaurs. Megaraptor was built for speed, running at speeds of up to 31 miles per hour or faster, and actively chasing down its prey. Once it caught up to its prey, it would grab onto it, puncturing it with its sickle claws. Its claws would dig into its prey's organs, weakening it. Then, it would quickly kill it by slashing it apart in the right places to make it bleed out. Megaraptor had very long arms, extremely unusual for a theropod. It also had more flexible shoulders than other theropods, allowing it to grab and hold things and bring them up to the mouth to eat. It had flexible wrists and fingers to prevent dislocation of joints while holding struggling prey. The only way for prey to escape Megaraptor was if they broke its arms. The struggling and force required to do this, however, would kill the prey animal long before Megaraptor was injured. Megaraptor had the perfect weaponry to kill humans. It was one of the only dinosaurs capable of picking up and holding a human. It would chase you down, catching you quickly, then impale you with its forelimbs and rip you apart with its teeth. It may have held on to and taken bites out of smaller prey, such as humans, while you were still alive. That would not be a fun way to go, especially if it started eating you feet first. With its long killer claws and brute strength, Megaraptor takes first. Tra-yenya moves to second. Incoming, another false raptor. Sinraptor grew up to 29 feet long and weighed up to 2,800 pounds. It lived 160 million years ago in China. Sinraptor was a medium-sized metriacanthosaurid from the late Jurassic period. Its name means Chinese thief. Despite the word raptor being in its name, Sinraptor was not a dromaeosaur and was instead a carnosaur that was a relative of Allosaurus. Sinraptor was also closely related to Yangchuanosaurus, which was featured earlier in our 72. Sinraptor had large serrated teeth. It would have used these teeth to inflict massive fatal wounds on other dinosaurs. Like Allosaurus, its favorite prey was likely stegosaurs. Sinraptor could run at speeds of up to 22 miles per hour. Sinraptor would have taken out humans with high efficiency using its mighty jaws. Sinraptor doesn't have the power to overcome our Megaraptorans. It takes third. Next up, a mysterious tyrannosaur. Alioramus grew up to 20 feet long or larger and weighed up to 1,500 pounds. It lived 70 million years ago in Mongolia. Alioramus, the different branch, was a small to medium-sized tyrannosaur from the late Cretaceous period. The individuals found were likely juveniles and were approximately 20 feet long. While adult specimens have yet to be found, a fully grown Alioramus may have been around 30 feet long, assuming the current specimens are indeed juveniles. Alioramus was distinct from other tyrannosaurs because it had 5 bony crests over the top of its snout, and it possessed more teeth than any other tyrannosaur. Its skull was long and low, and around 18 inches long. Alioramus targeted small prey items, helping it avoid competition with the much larger Tarbosaurus, which ate bigger prey. Alioramus had a locking mechanism in its lower jaw, providing it with more stability. Alioramus would have been nimble and agile and could swiftly chase down and kill a human. Alioramus had too small of a head to quickly or efficiently do enough damage to kill a human. It was designed for killing small lizards. It takes fourth. Megaraptor still holds strong in first. Up next, a fierce tyrannosaur. Tarbosaurus grew up to 40 feet long and weighed up to 11,000 pounds. It lived 72 to 65 million years ago in Mongolia and China. Tarbosaurus, the alarming lizard, was a large tyrannosaur from the late Cretaceous period. Some paleontologists believe that Tyrannosaurus rex and Tarbosaurus bataar should be in the same genus. That would make Tarbosaurus as a genus no longer exist. Their skeletons are nearly identical, the differences being that Tarbosaurus had a thinner skull and much smaller arms than Tyrannosaurus. In fact, Tarbosaurus had the smallest arms proportionate to body size of any tyrannosaur. Now, looking at the skulls, you can see a huge difference. This still does not necessarily separate them into different genera, as all wolves, dogs, and dingoes are the same species, and they have a massive amount of variation. Also, taking a look at my personal collection, you can see major differences between the skulls of the red fox and Arctic fox, which are in the same genus. Fennec foxes are also in the same genus as red foxes and Arctic foxes, and their skull is even more different. Looking at a prehistoric example, Mikasuchus species look nothing like each other, but are in the same genus. If these two drastically different reptiles are in the same genus, why can't Tyrannosaurus and Tarbosaurus be? But anyway, that's just my argument for the opposite side of things. We have 4 species of Tyrannosaurus already, who have slight differences in their skeletons, so Tarbosaurus being drastically different than those 4 likely means it was a separate genus after all. Like other Tyrannosaurs, Tarbosaurus had 2 fingers on each of its tiny hands. Tarbosaurus' habitat was a floodplain that was filled with deserts, forests, plains, and rivers. It was the apex predator, preying on hadrosaurs and sauropods. Tarbosaurus was discovered on a joint Soviet-Mongolian expedition, and its species name Batar was given by a Soviet paleontologist who misspelled the Mongolian word for hero. Now it's permanently stuck with the wrong spelling of its name. Certified bruh moment. A Tarbosaurus skull was found that preserved a dewlap on the throat, like some modern lizards. Additionally, fossilized skin was found that belonged to the individual's chest. Small, non-overlapping scales were preserved on the skin. Since Tarbosaurus' skull was thinner than T-Rex's, especially in the back, it lacked binocular vision. Like Alioramus, Tarbosaurus had a locking mechanism in its lower jaw. All other tyrannosaurs lacked this mechanism, giving them more flexibility in their jaws. The Tarbosaurus holotype had a skull that was 3.6 feet long and a total body length of 33 feet. The largest Tarbosaurus skull found was 4.4 feet. If you scale the body size up from that skull to the equivalent proportions of the holotype, Tarbosaurus reached a maximum length of just over 40 feet. Study of sclerotic rings of a juvenile Tarbosaurus revealed that it was nocturnal. Tarbosaurus had a great sense of smell, allowing it to detect prey from a distance. Tarbosaurus also had a great sense of hearing. Its eyesight, however, was poor and underdeveloped. Tarbosaurus relied on smell and hearing for hunting in day-to-day life. Tarbosaurus had a bite force of over 44,000 newtons, meaning it could crush bones in its jaws. This large tyrannosaur could easily finish you off with one bite from its massive jaws. Tarbosaurus was a powerful and dangerous predator. Its large size and powerful bite force made for a lethal combo. Nothing beats being eaten alive like a praying mantis, though. Tarbosaurus takes second, unable to surpass the brutalness of Megaraptor. Tra-yenya moves to third, Sinraptor to fourth, and Alioramus to fifth. Up next, a dubious Spinosaurid. Oxalaia grew up to 46 feet long and weighed up to 15,400 pounds. It lived 100.5 to 93.9 million years ago in Brazil. Oxalaia, named after an African god, was a giant Spinosaurid that was closely related to Spinosaurus. Some paleontologists believe that it was a synonym to Spinosaurus, which is weird because they did have some notable differences between them. The main differences were that Oxalaia had 2 replacement teeth in each tooth socket, resembling sharks, and a very sculptured secondary palate. Its teeth were not serrated, unlike Suchomimus. Oxalaia lived in a heavily forested tropical habitat. As a Spinosaurid, Oxalaia was partly piscivorous, feeding on sawfish and coelacanths, but would have fed on smaller dinosaurs and pterosaurs too. Oxalaia had short hind limbs and large, powerful forelimbs equipped with massive claws. It also had a sail on its back and tail, formed from tall neural spines on its vertebrae. Its paddle-like tail helped it swim. Its jaws interlocked perfectly, its conical teeth puncturing its fish prey and preventing escape. Oxalaia could do some serious damage to a human using its teeth and claws to kill them. Due to Oxalaia being largely a piscivore, it can't top Megaraptor or Tarbosaurus. Its large size and dangerous weaponry places it in third place. Tra-yenya moves to fourth, Sinraptor to fifth, and Alioramus to sixth. Megaraptor finishes in first and wins our episode, moving on to our finalists. Next episode on 72 Dangerous Animals Prehistory, the Tyrant Titan, the Different Lizard, and the Crocodile Lizard. A dinosaur called Yi Chi had bat-like wings and a long tail, and looked identical to a tiny feathered wyvern dragon.
In each episode, we will rank the creatures from 1 to 6 on a scale of how potentially dangerous these creatures would be to humans, and the winner of each episode will showdown with the other 11 finalists in the season finale to decide on which prehistoric creature was the ultimate human killing machine.